Relatives of executed family ask for help as death sentence is confirmed for 7 men in Krabi. Family of the 7 condemned men now shift their focus to preparing documents to submit a petition to the king for mercy after the court verdict, which said that it could find no grounds to avoid imposing the death sentence on those involved and suggested that their execution would act as a deterrent against future acts of this nature. Relatives of an extended family that was nearly wiped out after 8 of its members were executed in a premeditated massacre in Krabi in 2017, on Thursday, appealed to government agencies for help as they feared that as a consequence of the atrocity, they may have no place to live after banks seized the family's property, including 2 homes. This came just after the Supreme Court confirmed a death sentence for 6 members of the gang who committed what was described by the court as a callous and brutal crime on the night of the 10th of July 2017, while it increased the sentence imposed on a 7th man to death, meaning all those that took part in the raid face the death chamber at Bangkwang prison unless a planned appeal to the Thai king results in the sentence being commuted. At court, on Thursday this week, were lawyers for the accused men, including Krieng Saksera Phi Center, who are now working with the families of the condemned men, right, including gang leader 41-year-old Sirik Phat Bung Phat Banpwangsakul, top right Inset, to seek mercy from the Thai king. At Krabi court, the relatives of the massacred family, including Asa Sonrub, Inset top left, were not allowed to attend the hearing, which featured a video teleconference to Nakhon Si Thammarat prison, but were invited back to a special sitting on the 24th of April next. At a sitting of the Supreme Court held at courtroom number 8 at the Krabi Provincial Court buildings, on Thursday, a 2-hour verdict was read via a teleconferencing facility to Nakhon Si Thammarat Central Prison, where 6 defendants, already convicted and sentenced to death for a brutal mass murder of a family on the 10th of July 2017, heard their fate confirmed by the country's highest court, while another was also condemned. The court ruled that due to the callous nature of the massacre, which amounted to premeditated murder carried out by a gang of men wearing military fatigues and led by 41-year-old Sirik Phat Bung Phat Banpwangsakul, that it could not find any justification or extenuating circumstance to not apply the proper penalty, which was that the 7 men before the court should face execution. Court saw merit in having the men executed. The court affirmed that such a course had the merit of sending a strong signal to others who might contemplate similar actions in the future, and in this way, may act as a deterrent. The court found that the men had acted with no regard whatsoever for the law. This was the second and last appeal by the men after the appeals court had already upheld the judgment and sentence imposed by the court of first instance for the crime, which took place less than 4 years ago. Raid on a family home with 11 people inside led to a cold-blooded mass execution. 3 escaped on the night of the 10th of July 2017, following a dispute over a title deed being held by the main perpetrator of the outrage, Sirik Phat Bung Phat Banpwangsakul. He led a force of 7 men to the home of the former village chief of Village No. 1 in Tamban Bangklang in the Ao Luke district of Krabi, 46-year-old Mr. Warrior Sanglang, also known as Puthan Batit. The gang entered the home and made all members of the family who were staying in the house their prisoners. They were bound and subsequently executed by the attackers. 8 people, in all, died that night, but a mother and her 2 daughters managed to escape with their lives. Dispute over a title document taken as security for an old loan already repaid at the root of the atrocity. The dispute between the main perpetrator Sirik Phat Bung Phat and the family is understood to relate to a loan taken out by Mr. Warrior's father and later repaid. However, the 41-year-old Bung Phat subsequently refused to return the land deed taken initially as security for the advance. At the provincial court on Thursday, family members of the victims of the crime were not allowed to enter courtroom 8 while the judgment was being relayed to the prison in Nakhon Si Thammarat. They were asked to return on the 24th of April, when a separate hearing would be held for them to hear the judgment of the court. Family of those who were murdered welcomed the verdict and urged authorities to carry out the sentence outside the court building. The family members broadly welcomed the court's decision that the 7 men should face the death penalty, although they expressed apprehension that the men may, somehow, avoid paying the ultimate price, as they urged authorities to follow through with the court-ordered punishment for the crime. Victim family in financial distress because of the horrors. Banks have seized their land and homes. One of those present was Asa Sonrub, the mother-in-law of Mr. Warrior. The family explained that they are also appealing to the government and its agencies for help. At this time, As one consequence of the outrage and the actions of the mastermind behind it, Sirikfat Bungfat, was that they have lost their property to the bank, including to houses, and fear of not having a place to live. The family, in the court's judgment on Thursday, was awarded compensation ranging from 400,000 to 2 million baht for each slain family member. Seventh man, Tor Aceh Boon Kong, added to the list of the condemned in the final court verdict on the case. The 7 men sentenced to death were 41-year-old Mr. Sirikfat Bungfat Banapwangsikal, in addition to 29-year-old Aaron Thongkham, 30-year-olds Compson Wyangnan and Abdullah Dolo, 36-year-old Pratchett Bunthoi, and 41-year-olds Thanachai Chamnong and Tor Aceh Boon Kong. In the 2-hour judgment handed down by the court, there was an unpleasant surprise for 41-year-old Tor Aceh Boon Kong, whose sentence was increased to death along with the other 6 who took part in the massacre. Wife of mastermind gets 1 year, and 8th defendant before the court. Reportedly the wife of Bungfat, 41-year-old Chalita Sangchut, received a 12-month prison sentence for helping her condemned husband to hide stolen items from the deadly raid on the family home. The court was satisfied that she was not aware of the atrocity prior to it being committed by her husband and took no part in it. After the judgment, no further action was taken in her case, as she had already served the sentence handed down while being held on remand. Lawyers for the defendants say they must focus now on a request for mercy from the king, as the death penalty is still in force in Thailand. A lawyer for the defendants, Krieng Saksera, indicated that after the judgment, the families of the men are now focused on submitting an appeal to the king seeking a royal pardon to commute the sentence, and that such a petition will be lodged within 60 days subject to the proper protocols. Thailand last executed a condemned person on the 18th of June 2018 in a surprise and unannounced move which sent a signal that the death penalty, supported by up to 93% of the population, is still in force. 26-year-old executed in June 2018. 26-year-old Tirasak Longji received a lethal injection in the execution chamber at Bangkwang prison. He had been convicted of murdering a 17-year-old young person by stabbing him 17 times as he robbed his smartphone. Condemned prisoners are normally transferred to Bangkok's Bangkwang prison after the death penalty is upheld and all legal avenues of appeal are extinguished. In 2018, there were over 500 people on death row in Thailand, including several Westerners and women, for crimes ranging from drug offences to murder. However, in August last year, the Thai King His Majesty Ma Vajiralongkorn commuted the death sentence for all condemned prisoners who had not yet been granted such a pardon,